What would you do if, 1 minute, you're enjoying a busy but manageable day at work, and the next, your entire shift is turned upside down by a person who thinks the world owes them everything? That was my reality one afternoon working at a popular resort in Florida, a theme park experience that was supposed to be magical, but sometimes, it felt more like a pressure cooker ready to explode. I had been working at this resort for a while now, slinging pizzas in a quick-service food station, and it was a job I didn't mind. In fact, it was one I looked forward to. Sure, the fast-paced atmosphere wasn't for everyone, but for me? It was easy. Quick. Consistent. And as someone who thrived on staying busy, I rocked the pizza station. I was known for my speed, getting orders out fast and perfect every time. And there was something satisfying about the job. I had air conditioning in the back, a rarity in most kitchens, and the walk-in fridge was a luxury when the heat from the oven became overwhelming. I didn't mind the chaos, the rush, or the noise. It was just another day. Guests would order pizzas, pasta, or garlic bread at the counter, and I would churn them out, one after the other. If they wanted something special or a custom order, they could always call in ahead of time. If not, they'd get a pager and wait for it to buzz when their pizza was ready. But there was one thing they had to do before all that: pay up front. And no matter how many people tried to game the system by ordering without paying, the policy was clear: pay first, and we'll get your food to you. On that particular day, everything was running smoothly until she walked in, Karen. A tall woman with light brown hair, a beer gut, and a temper that was about to blow a fuse. She had no idea that, by the end of the day, her explosive attitude would not only ruin her vacation but also leave her banned from the resort for good. Little did I know, this one woman was about to turn my quiet day into a circus. Karen marched up to the counter with a huff, already on edge, her arms crossed over her chest like she was expecting trouble. I didn't think much of it at first. Guests were often impatient, especially when it came to pizza. It's one of those comfort foods that people always seem to crave the moment they step into a theme park. But this woman? She was different. The second she opened her mouth, I knew we were in for something special. She started in on Lisa, the cashier up front, complaining about how long she'd been waiting for her pizza. Lisa, trying to be polite, asked her when she had ordered and requested her receipt to verify the time. That's when the storm hit. "I've been waiting for 40 minutes. Karen yelled, her face turning red with fury. "How hard is it to make a damn pizza?" She practically spat the words out, and I could see Lisa tense up, trying to remain calm despite the insults being thrown her way. But the more Lisa tried to de-escalate, the louder Karen got. "I don't need to show you my receipt. I'm not some kind of criminal. You people are ridiculous." Her voice carried through the air, and I could feel a few eyes turn toward the scene. I was busy in the back, but when I heard the commotion, I knew something had gone wrong. Karen was going off, and it wasn't going to end anytime soon. Lisa, obviously flustered, came back to the kitchen and asked me to step in. She looked like she was about to break down, and I wasn't about to let her deal with this monster alone. I headed up front, trying to keep my cool, but it wasn't easy with Karen standing there throwing a tantrum like a toddler. I tried to approach her with the same calm demeanor I used to handle the rushes in the kitchen, but Karen wasn't having it. "Ma'am, I'm really sorry about the wait, but we just need to see your receipt. It's our policy," I said, trying to sound as polite as possible. She didn't take kindly to that. "Receipt?" she sneered. "You think I'm stealing a pizza? You think I'm lying about waiting? You people are all the same." Her voice was sharp, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. The whole restaurant was starting to turn their attention toward us, and I could see some families beginning to look uncomfortable. Karen wasn't done yet. She slammed her hand down on the counter, her face twisted in anger. "I've been here forever. You're not getting away with this. I want my pizza, now." I wasn't going to back down, though. I knew the policy, and I wasn't about to let her skip it just because she was throwing a fit. "Ma'am, if you could just show me your receipt, we'll have your pizza out in no time." But she wasn't hearing me. Karen had already worked herself into a full-blown rage, and now it was all about her. She didn't care about the policy, the other guests, or the fact that her demands were completely unreasonable. It was clear, Karen wasn't just upset about waiting for her pizza. No, this was something bigger. I could see Lisa standing back, clearly overwhelmed by Karen's fury. She was looking to me for backup, and I wasn't about to let her down. I glanced back at the kitchen, hoping the pizza oven would help cool off the heat from the front. But instead, I had to step in even further. Karen had gone from loud and rude to outright hostile, and I wasn't about to let her continue bullying the staff. I decided it was time to escalate the situation. This needed a manager. As I took a deep breath and turned toward the back office, I knew I was about to enter a whole new level of customer service hell. And I was bracing myself for the showdown that was about to unfold. I made my way to the back office, where I found Megan, one of the managers, already walking toward the front. Her face was set in a determined expression. Megan wasn't one to tolerate drama, but she was good at handling difficult situations. As she approached the counter, Karen was still carrying on, her voice practically vibrating with anger as she screamed about her damn pizza. "I've been here for an hour, and these idiots are accusing me of stealing. I've never been treated like this in my life." Karen was practically frothing at the mouth, her words flying out in rapid succession. Megan didn't flinch. She walked up to Karen calmly, her voice steady but firm. "Ma'am, please don't use that kind of language toward our staff. Asking for a receipt is our policy, and we're just following it. If you could just show your receipt, we'll be happy to give you your pizza." But that didn't go over well. "I can use whatever language I want." Karen shot back, her face twisted into a mask of rage. "You people are all worthless. I'm going to make sure you lose your jobs for treating me like this." Megan stood her ground. "Ma'am, that's not necessary. We're just doing our jobs, and I need you to calm down." But it was clear Karen had already lost control. The shouting continued to escalate, each word more venomous than the last. Guests who had been minding their own business suddenly found themselves looking over in confusion and discomfort. Some were shielding their children's ears from Karen's profanity. Others were glancing nervously at each other, unsure how to react to the mess unfolding before them. By now, I could feel the tension building in the air. People were starting to leave the counter, clearly not wanting to get involved. But Karen wasn't finished. She was on a roll, and it seemed like she was going to take everyone down with her. "I'm going to get you fired. All of you." Karen screeched, looking at both Megan and me, as if she were holding all the power in the room. "You're all going to regret this." She then turned her attention to the people standing around, accusing us of ruining her son's birthday. The other customers, clearly uncomfortable, started edging away, but not without giving her the kind of looks that made it clear they saw through her act. But Karen wasn't just targeting us. She was now directing her anger at the entire restaurant, causing a scene that was impossible to ignore. That's when Jason, another manager, stepped in. Jason was a little taller and more imposing than Megan, and his calm but assertive approach usually helped in tense situations. But even he wasn't immune to Karen's venom. "Ma'am, I need you to lower your voice. You're causing a disturbance. If you don't cooperate, we'll have to call security," Jason said, his tone as level-headed as always, but with an undeniable authority. Karen wasn't having it. "Call security? Oh, I'll be calling someone all right. You're all going to regret this. I'll get you all fired." Her voice was rising by the second, and now, she wasn't just threatening us, she was threatening the very people who had come to enjoy their vacation. It was as though nothing mattered but her pizza, and her need to be right. That's when the tipping point came. A couple of gift shop managers, Mike and Chris, who had been monitoring the situation from afar, stepped in. They'd had enough of Karen's tirade. Without even speaking, they made a quick decision: security needed to be called. It wasn't even a suggestion anymore, it was a necessity. Jason pulled out his phone, making the call. As soon as he spoke the words, Karen's face went from furious to almost gleeful. "Oh, so now you're calling the cops? Fine. Let them come. I'll have you all arrested for this," Karen shouted, her expression one of pure defiance. It was becoming clear that this wasn't just about pizza anymore. Karen was on a power trip, convinced that everyone around her was conspiring to ruin her day. Her behavior had gone far beyond what anyone could reasonably expect. She wasn't even trying to be reasonable anymore. She wasn't about to back down. She was all in, determined to make everyone around her just as miserable as she felt. The sound of security arriving wasn't a moment too soon. The entire restaurant had been held hostage by Karen's outbursts for what felt like an eternity. When Officer Taylor and Officer Scott walked in, their calm but authoritative presence seemed to quiet the atmosphere, if only for a moment. The tension in the air was thick, and the people watching couldn't seem to look away, as if waiting for something to give. Karen, however, was far from ready to let it go. The moment she saw security, her face twisted in a mix of outrage and defiance. She crossed her arms over her chest, standing tall like she was about to face down an army, not two officers who were simply doing their jobs. "What are you going to do, huh? You can't just arrest me because I'm upset about waiting for my pizza," Karen shouted, eyes narrowing. The officers, clearly used to dealing with confrontations like this, stood their ground. "Ma'am, we need to verify that you are a registered guest of the resort. Can you please provide a form of identification, such as your room key or an ID?" Officer Taylor asked in a tone that was calm, but there was no mistaking the authority behind it. Karen, already irate, snapped back with a laugh that was more mocking than anything else. "ID? You think I need to show you my ID? I don't need to do anything. You can't do anything to me." She was almost spitting as she said it, the anger seething out of her with every word. She stood her ground, refusing to move, but the officers remained patient, speaking softly but firmly, almost as if they were trying to soothe a tantrum-prone child. "Ma'am, we're just asking for identification. We need to confirm your identity before we can continue. If you don't cooperate, we'll have to escalate this situation." Karen, as if she hadn't already escalated the situation enough on her own, just scoffed. "You're fake cops, aren't you? You can't do anything to me. I'm not scared of you." She was now practically frothing at the mouth. She wanted the world to know that she wasn't intimidated, but in reality, she was only digging herself deeper into a hole that was getting harder to climb out of. The people around her were starting to shift uncomfortably. Some looked away, clearly trying to ignore the spectacle, while others were watching the scene unfold with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. You could feel the collective sighs in the air, as if everyone was hoping for it to end, except Karen, who was determined to make sure it didn't. "Fine. Call whoever you want," Karen sneered, her voice rising again. "I'll make sure you're all fired, and I'll have your manager on the phone too. No one treats me like this and gets away with it." With that, Officer Scott picked up his phone and dialed the Orange County Police. The moment the words left his mouth, Karen's expression shifted from one of defiance to something a little more calculating, as if she was starting to realize the seriousness of the situation. "Go ahead. Call the cops. I'll have your badges by the end of the day," Karen shouted. She wasn't backing down, but there was a slight hesitation in her voice now. The bravado was starting to crack. She hadn't expected this. She had expected to throw her weight around, scream, and leave with her pizza, maybe even feel like she won. But she was slowly realizing that her actions were leading her into a place she couldn't control. As Officer Taylor made the call, the rest of the restaurant seemed to hold its breath. The tension was palpable. Karen's rants had gone from absurd to dangerous, and now she was trapped in a situation where her anger wasn't going to get her what she wanted. But the real shock was yet to come. She was about to find out just how much trouble she had gotten herself into. And for once, the world wasn't going to bend to her will. As the Real police arrived, Karen's demeanor shifted yet again. This time, the fire in her eyes was replaced by something closer to fear. Her bravado had been replaced by hesitation, but it was too late for her to back out now. The officers, after taking the necessary steps to confirm her identity, were calm and methodical. Karen finally, grudgingly, pulled out her resort ID, handing it over to Officer Taylor with a huff as if doing so was some great act of submission. But her time to control the situation was gone. Her husband, David, and their son, Ethan, were called over from the pool area. David walked into the scene looking more tired than angry, his face a picture of exhaustion and resignation. He didn't speak a word as he looked from Karen to the officers. His eyes shifted to the ground, then back to Karen, his frustration with her clearly visible. Without a word, he turned and walked back out toward the pool, his silence saying more than any words could. The weight of his actions hit harder than anything Karen could have screamed in that moment. Karen stood there, watching him go, her face going pale as reality sank in. She knew he wasn't coming to her rescue. And in that instant, it seemed as though the full force of her isolation had settled in. The officers readied themselves to escort her out, and as she was placed in handcuffs, Karen's expression went from angry to defeated. The look on her face was one of complete disbelief, as if she still couldn't comprehend that this had all been her fault. As she was led out of the food court, the scene seemed almost surreal. The once angry, self-entitled woman now looked like a broken shell of herself, her bravado completely shattered. The resort, which she had planned to make her personal battleground, had turned into her downfall. The worst part? Karen had been completely in the wrong. The family was banned for life, no refund offered, and the stain of her behavior would be remembered long after they were gone. Even worse, Karen's receipt, the very thing she had refused to show, was found crumpled up in her pocket. It had been only 10 minutes since she placed the order, not 40. The entire meltdown, the cursing, the threats, the chaos, all of it had been completely unnecessary. It made me wonder, how many times do people like Karen act out of frustration, when it's really not about the situation at all? How much of her outburst was a reflection of something deeper, something that had nothing to do with pizza or waiting in line? We all have bad days, but Karen made hers everyone else's problem, and in the end, it cost her everything. So, I ask you, have you ever felt powerless against a situation that wasn't your fault, or been caught in the crossfire of someone else's bad day? Share your experiences below, let's see who had it worse.